Hi, good afternoon. This is Kaisha Leoping Alfred, and welcome to this week's edition of the LockDown. This week we have Daniel Francis with us, who wrote this book that I have here, The Millennial Mind. So, just a bit about Daniel. He's an author, he's an entrepreneur, and he helps millennials with personal development and building their brand. And he also do event management, as well as he's a member of the Rotaract Club. So when he's not working, he's volunteering or doing charity work. So let us welcome Daniel to this week's edition of the Lockdown. Welcome, Daniel.
Thank you for having me. Thank you for having me. It's an honor to be here.
Thanks, Daniel. So, Daniel, I have read your book, and like I told you before, and I want to say it again, this book is a very awesome book. I think everybody, every millennial should get this book to read.
Thanks so much. Thank you
Yes,
so much.
even parents and all, because it will help us to see that as parents, we can also contribute to some of the problems that a lot of persons have with millennials, right? So, Daniel, tell me, what inspired you to write this book?
So, for years, or 3 years, I was doing training, more or less mainly for millennials. And I was just sitting a day thinking about how I can reach more millennials because I realized that as millennials, we all had different behaviors, but all of the behaviors came from the same core issues. So you have the core issues of lack of patience, entitlement, um, instant gratification, not having a purpose, and basically just being too superficial with our actions. And it's just from that thought I started thinking, how can I put all this together and share it on a more grander scale so that I can reach more people. And then, there was, I had the idea for the Millennial Mind. It started with the name and some chapters. And in true millennial fashion, I went straight to social media and I said, hey guys, I have an idea for a book. Do you like the name The Millennial Mind or Adulting 101? And the poll won overwhelmingly for The Millennial Mind. And I said, I think I have something here. And from there, I just used my skills as a personal development coach to help me plan out how I was going to do this, even though I did not have full information because, this time author.
Okay. So, one of the things in reading your book, I realize you talk about a push factor.
Mm-hmm.
So tell the audience a bit more about your push factor.
Right. So push factors are more or less laid into motivation. So for instance, as a child, you go to school, your motivation for doing things are more or less because you have to. You study for exams, you do assignments, you go where you're supposed to go. There's a structure set for you, and you more or less are pushed into doing things. Which is why you find a lot of children, even I was really guilty of this, I would procrastinate and I would just cram. I crammed my way through high school all the way to college, and that was because I was only used to reacting when I was pushed
to do.
Right? That's being a push factor. Why it's problematic is because when we become adults, we enter the adulting world, we now have free reign to make our own decisions. But because we're conditioned to only react when we have this push factor in front of us, we tend to only do so when we're pushed. We have no money, we home, giving our parents headache, parents say, yo, get a job, I'm kicking you out, push factor. You find a job, you start looking. You pick any job, you don't necessarily want to do this, but you will work hard because your boss there and you want to do your work and you need to pay the bills, push factor. Right? So it's really something that talks about being more reactive. And in the book I talk about having a pull factor, where it's something that you pull towards you, but you can only pull something if you know what it is or how you're going to pull it to you. So it forces readers to say, okay, what do I actually want? And is it what specifically do I want? You decide what that thing is, you decide the time frame of which you're going to get it, and then you make a coherent plan, mix of course of action to get there. So the difference being that you're not being proactive, pull, versus reactive, which is the push.
Right. So Daniel, also too in reading, I realize that you say parents contribute to how millennials are. And you quoted and mentioned about when you were in school and parents would reward children for non-performance, basically.
Right.
Would you say that is a bad thing? And if yes, how is it bad and how it affects your adulting?
I would say it's bad, but it also depends on the individual. Because again, I would have gone through this same entitlement because the story I would have given, even now thinking back, I still think it's so strange. We have sports days, people come in fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth, and you still get a ribbon, right? And the goal is to not make us feel bad, not to make us feel like losers, right? But what it does, it kind of takes away from the person that is working really hard to achieve that particular success, which in this case is the race, right? So we're almost cuddled too much. And that paragraph where I spoke about is probably the most controversial part because I got so many angry calls about, how you gonna tell me that I am entitled and da 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 da. And honestly, I love to get those calls because I think the persons who are angry are the people who need to read that. Because you think that entitlement only shows by that person who's in your office who's like, I have been here for about a year, I have my master's, I deserve to be a manager, right? You can see that outward entitlement, but then there's subtle entitlement where you have a way about how you think life should be. And if you don't get it in that way, you're frustrated, you're angry, and you lash out. And most times you see that lashing out towards your employer. You come to your employer, and I hear this all the time from corporate companies. I hire this person, they here a couple of months, they're asking for a pay raise already because they think they deserve it. That's that subtle entitlement now expressing itself. And I can't blame parents. You want to protect your child from it, and you don't want no parent wants their child to feel bad about not being able to be good at something. But it has kind of conditioned us again, come back to conditioning, to feel like, yeah, even if I don't put my best foot forward, I still deserve the best, right? You see it in that end, and then of course on the other end, where parents want a life for their kids that they didn't have. That's just a given.
Yeah,
My
because
mom,
Mhm.
go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
So for instance, my mom, she always wanted to study abroad. And she really was very close to getting the opportunity, but then it was taken away. So for us, she really pushed that, right? And I didn't really see it growing up, but she's like, yeah, you'll can study abroad, you'll have the opportunities, da 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 da. And she helped us move towards achieving that. So, I was lucky enough to go and study in New Orleans for 4 years. But you see that in a negative way when parents now say, I need to protect my child from this experience, whatever it is, but not realizing that that is life. We actually need to experience the bad. We need to experience the stressful because it helps us build character. It helps us to be a better human being. Of course, you don't want to do extreme, but all of that is part of life.
Yeah. And then it's help you also accept reality too, because when you go out into the working world, as your book would use some examples, at least with the lawyer, the girl that wanted to be the lawyer, and
Right.
everything was going all good for her. She thought it was all planned out and things would have gone all as planned. But then she realized, no, it's not going as she wanted to. And it could cause, just as it happened to her, she regressed and she reached at a stage where she didn't know what to do. And it could lead to some level of depression. So I guess it's really not good for parents to cuddle their child, but still love, but still help them to see the reality and to help them when they're wrong or they're not performing well, with love. Yeah.
Exactly.
So I also read that you endorse writing things down
Yes.
and you have a preference of pen and paper. But how that works with millennials, because millennials born into this whole technology era,
Sure.
most of them. So how has that been for you with millennials using pen and paper as opposed to different apps and technology to write their goals? Is there a difference between writing on a paper and writing via an app?
Yes, there's a huge difference. And I get a lot of fight down, but it's expected. I mean, some of us grew up with Kindles in our hands and tablets. So to say, write this down, it just seems like, why would I spend that time? But they have numerous studies on it. So when you have the idea within your mind, you're only using one side of your brain. That's the side that's creative, that creates ideas and all these different things. But if you can get both sides of your brains involved with your goals, then you're more likely to get it done. Right? So when you actually write it down physically, pen to paper, as opposed to on your computer, which still works, but it's lesser than when you write it down. New synapses from one side of the brain, the creative side, to the logical side of your brain, which is the other side, are created because you're now forcing yourself to say, okay, let me turn the creative and the ideation into actual logical steps. And what that helps you with is now you are now able to be more motivated to get it done because it almost becomes real. I tell my clients, if it's not written and it's not measured, it's not real. Right? They say that you're almost, I think it's 42% more likely to achieve your goal if you write it down. I tell you that and you still don't want to write it down. I mean, you could go ahead and do it with a handicap. But I feel like we all want to make it easier for ourselves to achieve our goals. And it's a really simple way if you think about it. If you have 10 goals and they're all in your head, or maybe you put it on an app, it's a lot to juggle. But when you write it down, you're forced to keep it there, you put it up on your wall, like I have all my goals up on my wall. It's like right there. It's the first thing you see. You don't even have to think about what is that goal again, you just have to remember where you wrote it down. But again, everybody's different. Some people like the technology more. Some people like the writing. I would always suggest do both. Or at least try one or the other and see what works best for you. Because again, everybody's different.
Yeah. And I wonder how that will work for the Gen Zs because they're born into technology itself.
So it will be an interesting one for sure.
Yeah, for sure. So what I wanted to ask again, so we know that a lot of millennials, they want that whole married, have children, or some may not, but we know that most of them want to have a nice car and want to have a house, and they hope to achieve it at a very young age. And when they've looked at some of their older peers and they're not sure exactly how they got there, but they think it was an easy route. But how patience come into it? Because I know that's one of the topics you discussed as well. How patience come into it? Because we know millennials are definitely not patient. They are about instant gratification. So how can delayed gratification benefit them?
Yeah. I mean, again, not really faulting us for that. We grew up in the era of instant gratification. You had you see how young kids are getting cell phones and technology. You fed up for one app, you download another one. You fed up for one game, you get another game. It's that was what we grew up on. So that's what we expect, but not realizing that again entering into the adult world, and it's not reality. You cannot be a functional adult and expect to get everything now. It doesn't work that way. It really comes from patience. So now you have this vast majority of young people who are used to a certain way of doing things and getting things, going out into the real world, and they're ill prepared because they have these expectations that are not real. I remember when I was young, I would look at older persons and just say, wow, they have it all together. I want to have that, the car, the house, everything. And then I would be at the same stage now and I realized that, wow, maybe they did, but it wasn't what I think it was. It was definitely a lot more work. And if you look at millennials, we have it a lot, I'll say harder than the generation, above us. My mom, my dad, they got married at 25. They had me, my 3 sisters, and somehow my mom was able to pay for a car, an apartment, run the house while my dad was finishing school. No,
wow.
That's not possible for me. I just say it. That is not a possibility for anybody in my generation now, unless that one job they do it is paying like $20,000, right? Because we went through the 2008 recession, we go through Corona. We are getting paid less than our parents are getting paid around the same time. We have to save, they say the base is like 10%, we have to save about 20 to 30% to actually achieve the goals we want to do in the future. On top of which, we're not patient. We see very short-sightedness and we're a little bit entitled. So the way I see it, it's like if we are not shocked into the position that we are in, you will start to see like the downfall of certain individuals. You talked about depression. This is something that can get you very depressed. You can have psychosomatic illnesses because you're stressing so often and so much about what is happening to you. And especially if you feel like you have no control, that you feel as though nothing you can do can get you where you need to go. So you just stick on survival mode, not realizing there's a better way. It just starts with you. It starts with you controlling your internal environment and then moving onwards.
Right. And Daniel, based on your experience so far in business, what advice you will give to millennials? Because we know that a lot of millennials start businesses, and somewhere along the way, they realize that it's not as easy as they thought it would be, and they can't cope with the challenges, and there is failures. Because I mean, in having a business, there'll always be failures, but I mean, it's more rewarding, and you have to be willing to put the sacrifices in as well. So, what advice you can give?
Yeah. I mean, first of all, I personally, and this, I actually think we're going to do a whole book on this, that we as millennials, we are the entrepreneurial revolution, because, or the generation, because we want to supplement our income. So you find that everybody has a side hustle. Who do nails, selling this on the side, who like looking so to build a business. It's almost a need for us, not really a want. And what we get caught up in is that we only see pieces of businesses and think that we can recreate it. You know, we see one business selling a product, we say, okay, I'm just going to sell this product. But what we don't realize is that businesses have built entire systems around that one product. You know, we only see the product, but we're not seeing the marketing that goes around it. We're not seeing the referrals that are linked to it. We're not seeing the long-term and the short-term plan. So when we come up with it, we have a very short-term way of getting money now. We'll start this business to make money now. When business doesn't really work in that way, you know, you need to reinvest into the business and keep building until you create something that can now help you along with making more income. I think the best advice that I can give when it comes to entrepreneurship is, one, we are in a era where you can get any information anywhere. You know? But any time to research what it is you want to do. If you want to open a restaurant, you should be learning about everything dealing with a restaurant for the next couple of months. Like, just being real. And all the information is out there and it can be free or very, very cheap. Right? You want to have as much information as possible so you can make an informed decision. And then two, think really big. And then back up that big dream with plans, where it's like step by step, what you're gonna do, who you're gonna speak to, where you're gonna get the money from, so that you can make it a reality. I feel like most millennials, they are very, I don't know if I can say that, so I'll say they don't really put their best foot forward when it comes to their goals. They think they're trying hard, but they're not really trying hard, you know, towards achieve. Like, for example, authors that I have met before I authored my book, they said it would be very difficult, you're not going to sell that much. I say, okay, what did you do when you published your book? They said, well, I just put it up there. I said, well, did you try to sell the book? Did you talk to people? Did you go on interviews? They didn't do any of that, you know? So in their mind, they think they're working hard when they aren't really.
In reality.
Yeah, they're not really putting in the actual efforts, which again, can still go back to entitlement, lack of patience, and just not a grasp of what it actually means to be in the adulting world.
Okay. So tell me how long it took you to write your book, and what is some of the challenges you may have faced while, along that journey?
Again, it always comes down to goals, right? I'm very goal-oriented. So when I came up with the name of the book and the chapters, I said, all right, let me go talk to authors because I don't know why I do it. I spoke to about 10 authors who've done what they've done, and they said, you know what, just write every single day. Don't worry about anything else. Get pen to paper, put everything down, type on your laptop, it don't matter. You just need to finish your manuscript, and then from there, make your plan. So for an entire month and a half, I woke up like 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning, and I just wrote for 2 hours every day. Even if I didn't feel to write, I wrote. Even if I felt like I was writing nonsense, I wrote. And by the end of that month and a half, I had the manuscript done. And what a lot of persons don't realize is that once you have the manuscript, you pay an editor to go through this manuscript with you and make it into something that can actually be published. Taking out all those errors, making sure it flows well. It was amazing to see what I started off with my manuscript and what my editor helped me to create at the end. And we get fixated on it not being perfect because when we have our manuscript, it's not perfect, but there's still a lot of process to go through. So I took a month and a half to do that, but the editing process took about 3 months of me going back and forth with the editor and making the changes, me adding them, and until you got that final version, which is the book here.
Okay. So how would you say this book relate to the period we are in, COVID? Because I know that you launched it during that time in April. It's recently launched. So tell me how, it relates to COVID.
Directly. Funny enough, directly. So funny story. When COVID, I was supposed to launch the book, and the book was supposed to go live April 15th, my birthday. It was perfectly planned out. I was so excited. Then the government said COVID is coming, everything shut down, and we wouldn't be outside till April 30th, which we all know was later. And I was crushed because I had all these plans, I had all these physical events I was going to do. And it's just so funny that I'm editing my book, the chapter called Quarter Life Crisis. Editing my book, and reading the words I wrote down, I'm thinking to myself, Daniel, you're the biggest hypocrite in the world. You have this perfect chapter talking about when things go wrong, what you do, how you should react. It's normal, life is not happening. To you, it's just happening. You just have to be overcome it. And I'm saying to myself, I cannot write this book and then behave it in this manner. And that forced me to say, okay, look at COVID as an opportunity. So if this is happening, how can I go above and beyond? How can I still dazzle people, meet my objectives, and launch this book? Because if it can help me, I just got to imagine what I could do to persons who are really struggling. And I'm so happy to find, to know that the feedback I've been getting from persons saying is exactly what they needed in this period, because it speaks directly to keeping those habits, especially now, because when you're home, you have to have a discipline, or else you'll basically be doing nothing. It speaks to quarter life crisis when things just fall apart, what you do, Biggest thing is to understand that COVID is not happening to you. It's not happening to us, it's just happening. And we now have to build ourselves up, use this time to be constructive, to somehow move forward, or we will just be stuck. So it's really a perfect read time that we're in, because a lot of us, it's not even a physical struggle that's holding us back, it's mental. I say 80% of it is mental.
Mm-hmm. So this is where persistence really comes in, because if you weren't persistent, we wouldn't be here now today. So what do you have for post-COVID? Because we're basically more or less out of COVID. So how do you plan to go forward with your book? Because I know you said you had some actual events that you wanted to do, and you were unable to do your book launch due to COVID. So how were you able to navigate to launch your book during COVID, as well as how do you plan to continue post-COVID, or even now?
So in COVID, I pivoted and I actually did a virtual launch. So I think it was the first virtual book launch ever done in that way. In that I rented a studio, I had a host. We kept 4 people in the studio, so you keep about 5 people minimum. And the host, we went live on Instagram and we just launched the book. I did a speech. We had entertainment during live in. So I had a friend playing violin, somebody that spoken word piece. I had super artists perform in the event, they just joined live. Then I even had a DJ playing music while we were doing all these things. It was amazing. Somehow I even got sponsors for this thing. So it just showed me that, it's all up here. If you say you want to make something a reality and you are persistent about it, nothing's going to stop you from doing that. So I was really happy for the success of that. I had 2,500 people viewing. It was amazing.
Wow.
And moving forward with the book, my goal, because I'm all about the goals, is 2,500 books sold this year. Right now, I'm at about 550, and the goal is to get to 1,000 by the end of July, so I can keep my schedule. And I'm actually looking into getting the book into different Caribbean islands, and I'm going to do them one at a time. So I did an interview on one of the shows in Jamaica, and I'm already contacting print trees and bookstores in Jamaica to get the book up there. And then I'll move my way down to Barbados, St. Lucia, Grenada, Guyana, and then of course start pushing to the bigger countries like America, Australia, UK, because I really am obsessed with hitting my targets. And it's crazy to say, we were talking off here about how I had plans, but things just came.
Yeah.
The book has come, and because of the book, it's creating new realities for me. Like I am creating companies around this book because of what I see it has done. So creating company for consulting. I'm going to be doing one for publishing because I see a need for Caribbean authors to write more books, and there's not enough information out there. And I had to fight to find this information, and I felt like this is not necessary. So I'm going to start by educating authors as best I can, telling them about my experience and giving them all the resources and information they need to write their own books because there's so much talent here. So why not? Why not?
Okay. So Daniel, that is really excellent. I'm glad to hear that even that, this COVID, you really use this threat, or rather I should say the opportunity to still launch your book and not allow it to deter you and to not launch. And I could see that you have a very bright future because your goal, and what I like is that you just don't, like your book said, you just don't talk about your goal and put, you are very specific basically. So you want to sell 1,000 books, you want to sell 2,500 books, so you put that. So it's not like the example you use, I want to lose weight by this time, but instead you put, I want to lose 30 pounds by August or something like that. So it's really good for millennials to know that goals need to be specific, as well as you need to be persistent, and you need to think ahead so that you didn't allow COVID to prevent you from launching your book, and it's not preventing you from continuing to get your book out there, even to an international market. And I know you would, and I want to say congratulations. And I think, like I said, everybody should get his book and read because it will really help millennials because they're very confused and problematic. Sorry to say. I know I'll probably get found myself saying that. But I mean, it's a good book to help them through the problems. And when I say problematic, I mean in terms of dealing with problems that they may face in life. Because everybody starts off very positive and wanting to do things and then realize somewhere down the road that something happens that can change their entire life and future. So it's a really good book to help millennials to see that they still need to continue, still need to persevere, and they will reach their goals. So last thing, where can we get your book? So for persons who want to get your book out there, both locally, regionally, and internationally, because you may have persons from all those areas viewing, where can they purchase the book?
Right, so for my friends outside of Trinidad and Tobago, the book is on Amazon. You just need to search The Millennial Mind. You'll see that lovely cover with the brain and the emojis. On its ebook and paperback, so you can purchase it there. For my local persons, you can go to my website, that's rebityouth.com, and you can actually get the book locally. I even have where you can download the first 2 chapters for free to take a read, and you can do so on Amazon as well. They allow you to read the first 2 chapters. I'm even doing things where if you check me on any of my social media platforms, Daniel Francis or Rebit Limited on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn. If you reach out to me and say you want a book, I've set it up where I'll take your name, your number, your location, and have the book delivered to you for free. Because I know the times that we are in, and I want to make it as easy as possible for persons to get their hands on my book. So you have to adapt with any times.
Okay. So excellent, Daniel, and thanks so much for that. It was great having you today. We learned a lot, and I want to say thank you. And for those, most welcome. And for our listening audience, remember you can follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. You can also visit our website. We are trendytradeshow.com. So be sure to connect with us to see what other interviews we have on, and if you would like to be featured as well on one of our interviews. So thank you so much and have a good afternoon.